identical organ. Each segment of their body has locomotory organs called chitai. So they are divided into segments, and each segment you find locomotory organ, that is, they can move together from each segment. Then their body is divided into segments by septa, that is, the dividing mark of their body is called the septa. They have well-developed nervous and circulatory system. Then each segment has a pair of excretory tube, that is the nephridia, which opens the exterior. So in each of the segments, you have the locomotory organ, you also have the excretory tube, which is called the nephridia, which opens to the exterior. Annelids reproduces sexually, and their individuals are hermaphrodites. They have sex, they reproduce sexually, then they have hermaphrodite individual. We have the examples of this. You have the common earthworm that you find around when rain has just fallen. When you look at it very well, you discover these characteristics I've just mentioned. You find the layer, you find it moving. Then you have the ragworm, which is also called neresis. Then the logworm, the arenicola, the leech, that is the irudu. Then in some, their sexes are separate. And I said some of them are hermaphrodites, but you have some that have separate sexes, that is, you have the male and the female separately. Some of these annelids are aquatic, while others are terrestrial. Then a few of them are ectoparasites, that is, they live on the body of their hosts, while others are endoparasites. You find them inside their host body. Then their gaseous exchange occurs through their moist skin covering. So they do their respiration through their moist skin covering. The next phylum that we're talking about is the phylum Arthropoda. In this group, their body is metametrically segmented. They are also triploblastic and bilaterally symmetrical. They have a rigid body layer. Their outer body layer is rigid. Then they have the exoskeleton made of chitinous cuticle. That is, they have a structure that makes a skeleton that is external. Unlike the human body, you know, the human body skeleton is internal, it's inside the body, then you have the flesh covering it, but their skeleton is external. You can find it outside their body. Then their body is composed of segments with distinct body regions. So they have the head, the thorax, then the abdomen. So they are divided into three. They have three body regions: the head, the thorax, and their abdomen. Then they have a pair of adding joint appendages, segmentally arranged and are used for locomotion. They have jointed appendages that are used for locomotion, feeding, and sensation. Then they have a body cavity with a large homocele which lies the heart. So they also, this group of organisms, they are more developed than the ones we're talking about. So they have the heart in them. Then they undergo edices, which is a periodic molting that helps their bodies to grow. They shed the old body, they grow. So that's what edices is all about. Periodic molting. They put away the old body, it spills off, then the new one comes up. Also, in this group of organisms, they have a specialized digestive system with two openings. They have the mouth and the anus. The arthropods have the mouth and the anus, so their digestive system is specialized compared to others. The arthropods are divided into four classes. They have the crustacea. Examples of organisms that are crustacea are the crayfish, your crayfish that you eat, your crabs, the prawns, shrimps, lobster. If you look at all these crustacea now, they are aquatic in nature. Then another class is the myriapoda, the centipede and the millipede that moves about. When you touch it, it goes in. So that's under the class myriapoda. Then you have the insecta, that is the insects, your insect that you find around, cockroaches, the locusts, flies, butterfly, housefly, and the rest. So you find them under the class insecta. They are all arthropods, but they have their characteristics that differentiated them into the various classes. Then you have the arachnidas. That's the fourth class of the arthropoda, or the arachnids. The spider, that makes the web, the scorpion, mites and tick. They are also examples of arachnids. The class arachnids, you have the spider, you have the scorpion, you have your mites, then tick. They are examples of organisms in the class arachnida under Arthropoda. Next phylum of the kingdom Animalia is the phylum Mollusca. The kingdom Animalia is interestingly the largest of the kingdom. You have various animals in the kingdom. So in the phylum Mollusca, their body is soft, they are fleshy, they have bilateral and unsegmented body. Their body is bilaterally unsegmented. They don't have segments like you have in other organisms. Then their body is differentiated into a head. They have a head. They have a ventral muscular foot, with which they move for locomotion, swimming, or burrowing. So they are able to move with their ventral muscular foot. Then they have the dorsal visceral hump. When I give example, you will understand. For instance, the snail. Snail is part of this phylum. It has a head, then the ventral muscular foot, that part with which it walks or it burrows the soil. Then the dorsal ventral end, that's the shell, that's the part. Then it has the mantle. The mantle secretes protective calcareous shell into which the foot and the egg can hide, as in land snail. I've mentioned land snail. Then their shell protect them from predators. It's difficult for you to harm a snail, like a lower animal, not a higher animal now. A lower animal harming a snail before the predator just gets to it, it has shrink into the snail. So, and before the animal will destroy the snail and get the snail, it takes a long time. So their shell is a protection for them. It shields them from harsh weather condition and also from predator. It prevents them from drying out. When the environment is very harsh, you find them just hibernating or estivating inside their shell. Then it prevents them from physical damage. Rather than for the snail itself, the fleshy part of the snail to get injured, the injury will come to the shell. So the shell is really a great protection for the snail. Then some of these organisms, the animals in the phylum Mollusca or the mollusks, they have no shell. Example of such, we have the octopus and the slug. You find them in the water, so they don't have shell. Then they bear tentacles for irritability, for sensitivity. If you see a snail, you discover that you have something like this. These two pointed tentacles on them. The ones that are so obvious, they have the smaller ones at the back. So it's for sensing things, for light, for when you touch that thing, when you touch the tentacle, you discover that the snail withdraws itself. So it's for irritability. Then their respiration is by means of gills or lung-like organ in their mantle. So they respire by their gill or a lung-like organ that is found in their mantle. They are mostly marine freshwater or terrestrial habitat. You find them mostly in marine freshwater, or you find them also in the terrestrial habitat. They undergo sexual reproduction and they have separate sexes. So you have the female mollusk and the male mollusk. Respiration is by means of gills. Then the examples of these mollusks, we have the clams, the oysters, the octopus, slug, snail. So those are examples of mollusks or organisms in the phylum Mollusca. Then the next phylum, phylum Echinodermata. Phylum Echinodermata. In this group of organisms, their larva is segmented. We have the egg, the larva, and the pupa before you get to the adult stage in organisms. Some don't have larva; they have just egg, nymph, and adult. But these organisms, they have larva. Their larva is segmented, but by the time they develop into adult stage, they become unsegmented. They are also triploblastic. That's why they have the endoderm, the mesoderm, and the exoderm. Then they have the ability to regenerate their lost parts. For instance, when a part cuts off, say the tail or a body part just gets missing or gets damaged and peels off, you discover that they are able to generate that body part again. They regenerate those body parts. Then they live in the sea. So that tells you they are purely aquatic. They have tough calcareous exoskeleton. That is a very tough layer of calcium skeleton. It's very strong. Then they have no head or brain. They don't have their system, their brain developed, so they don't have that. Then they have numerous 2 feet for locomotion, feeding and respiration. Sometimes you find them sticking to the bottom of the sea. Example of echinoderms, you have the starfishes, the sea urchins, the brittle star. You see they are majorly inhabitants of the sea. Then next phylum, we talk about phylum Chordata, or the chordates. These are more advanced. You will see as we begin to describe their characteristics. They have holodosa central nervous system. They have a well-developed, well-coordinated central nervous system. They have flexible skeletal rod present. So that's why they are called chordates, because of their skeletal rod that is present. Then they have a closed blood circulation.